My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. This microphone's really close to my face, so I keep looking up at it in fear that it's gonna bite me. Probably won't though. Welcome to our first episode of the Forgotten Race review that will take place both in Pathfinder 1st and 2nd edition. Today, boom, Alt Chewy would like me to roll up the Leprechaun as a player race in Pathfinder 1st edition, and it will mark our first foray into the realm of Pathfinder 2nd edition, trying to convert this as faithfully as possible into Pathfinder 2nd edition with the stats from 1E. Now, of course, I'm assuming the Leprechaun is going to get printed somewhere. Matter of fact, I'm going to check the bestiary one more time, because maybe it's like a sprite or something now. Okay, we're good. Anyway, if you're liking what you're seeing, like, subscribe, ding the bell. Moving forward, we're going to try to convert all of it to 2nd edition and 1st edition. May the gods be kind. Today, this episode of the Forgotten Race review is brought to you in part by Nick Cirillo. Thanks for your help, friend. Now, here we go. Alright, so in case you hadn't heard, on planet Earth, a leprechaun is a type of fairy from Irish folklore. Usually they are depicted as little bearded men wearing a coat and hat who partake in mischief. They're solitary creatures who spend their time making and mending shoes and hide a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. If captured by a human, they often grant wishes in exchanges for their freedom, and are a very popular part of pop culture present day, once upon a time starring in a movie alongside 90s Jennifer Aniston and eventually going into space, and I can't keep talking about that movie series because I don't condone them. They're bad. Unless you're just trying to laugh at something, I guess. I don't know. I'm not gonna judge you if you like Leprechaun. Much. If we were to crack open Bestiary 2, we'd see that leprechauns, of course, are typically chaotic neutral, small, fun-loving tricksters. Most commonly, they are found in forests, and they share a close connection with nature, because, in fact, in Pathfinder, they happen to be one of the Fae. Leprechauns love playing tricks on unknowing passerbys almost as much as they love a fine bottle of wine and a plate full of hot food in their bellies. You knew I had to break out my Irish accent for this, right? Of course. Often they'll steal something of worth from people just to provoke them, using their ability to disappear at will to its full potential. They wait until victims appear to be about to give up, and then they'll appear and whoo, and then the chase resumes. Eventually, they drop what they've stolen. They're not greedy, except when gold is involved. It's rumored that a person who finds a gold coin in the forest and returns it to the leprechaun that dropped it will be granted a wish. Unfortunately, the rumors are not true. Likely perpetuated by the leprechauns themselves in order to trick others into giving them money. Now, let's look at the stats, shall we? So, this is a Fae creature. I'm gonna say it comes of age at whenever it comes of age. The only rule is there are no rules, friends. And the max age for this thing is, your call. Maybe immortal, maybe dies within 24 hours of being on the material plane. The first world is a strange and magical place, friends, but we will, for its height and weight as a small creature, we'll borrow from the gnome, shall we? So the leprechaun ranges in height anywhere from 3'2" to 3'8", and it's been requested of me, and I of course will honor that request, that we use the metric system in this as well. Meaning, oh by the way, this is the height for the males, should say. Leprechauns range in height from 0.9 to 1.1 meters. Females ranging in height from 3 flat to 3'6", or 0.9 meters to basically a meter flat, a little over top. A male leprechaun weighs anywhere from 37 to 43 pounds, or 16.7 kilograms to 19.5 kilograms. The females coming in 32 to 38, 14.5 kilograms to 17.2 kilograms. I will do that conversion for you guys henceforth. Sometimes, again, I forget how many people are in my life now, basically, that don't use the same measurement system as me. Anyway, let's look at the character sheet. I'll give you a gold coin if you can guess what it seems to be. The ability scores for the Leprechaun in 1st edition are, yeah, you guessed it, a +2 to dexterity and charisma, but a -2 to strength. The Leprechaun is a small Fae. It has low light vision, has a base speed of 40 feet, DR 5 over cold iron, and spell resistance equal to 9 plus its hit dice. It's got a boatload of spell-like abilities. Shillelagh is a constant, Dancing Lights, Ghost Sound, Invisibility, Mage Hand, Major Image for visual and auditory elements only, Prestidigitation, and Ventriloquism at will, Color Spray thrice a day, as well as Fabricate for a cubic foot of material only thrice a day, and Major Creation once a day. It begins play with Improved Initiative and Weapon Finesse as bonus feats and receives a +8 racial bonus on perception checks and +4 on sleight of hand checks. In addition, when a Leprechaun uses any of its spell-like abilities to deceive, trick, or humiliate a creature at the GM's discretion, the spell-like ability resolves at the entry notes caster level 8th instead of caster level 4th will say +4 caster level. It also would receive a +4 on concentration checks in the same way. Now, 2nd edition. So this is definitely my first foray into what would be a custom race in this game. I don't think there's any way to phrase this one other than to say this is gonna be powerful. And when the Leprechaun of 2nd edition gets made, hey, this might change real hard. But the 2nd edition Leprechaun has 8 racial hit points. Its ability boosts are to Dexterity and Charisma. Its ability flaw is to Strength. It does not receive a free ability boost like an elf or a dwarf would because this thing has a lot of powerful stuff on it. It has a speed of 30 feet, but it does have weakness 5 to Cold Iron. Call it a drawback, given all of the powerful spells it has. It, of course, as it did before, does possess low light vision. As for 3 heritages, let's say the Magic Leprechaun heritage gives you a +1 circumstance bonus on saves against spells you cast that deceive, humiliate, or trick at GM's discretion. The Quick Leprechaun heritage gives you a +1 circumstance bonus on initiative checks, and I want to say attack rolls with light weapons, but yeah, you know what? Things don't stack with things like they used to, so that's not super scary, so sure. The Quick Leprechaun also receives a +1 circumstance bonus on attack rolls with weapons with the Agile trait. Alternatively, the Sneaky Leprechaun receives a +1 circumstance bonus on thievery and perception checks. As for those ancestry feats, let's say, and they're not going to have sweet names because, well, I'm kind of brain farting and I'm just pulling spell-like abilities apart here. The save DCs are based off its charisma, and the Leprechaun is considered trained with spell rolls and spell DCs for its innate spells. At 7th level, it is expert, and at 15th, it is master. At level 1, you gain the ability to cast Shillelagh once per day as a primal spell. You can increase the number of times per day you can cast Shillelagh to half your level, rounded up, with a 2nd feat taken at level 9. For our next level 1 ancestry feat, choose Ghost Sound, Mage Hand, Dancing Lights, or Prestidigitation. You may cast one of these once per day as a primal spell, heightened to half your level, rounded up. You can grab a second one of these at 5th, a 3rd, at 9th, and at 13th. All 4. And lastly, at level 1, Color Spray or Invisibility as a primal spell once per day, increasing to thrice a day at 5th and grabbing whichever one you didn't choose. And we'll say Illusory Object once per day at 9th level, and Creation at 13th level, also once per day. Of course, all of these heightened to half your level, rounded up, right? Easy enough. And there you have it. There's my first brew in 2nd edition. A lot of really good spells. And that's basically what the Leprechaun is as of 1st edition. How they put it together in 2nd edition remains to be seen, but so far as 1E goes, and so far as the things I've brewed up in Pathfinder 1st edition, this one doesn't seem to be as crazy as some of the things I've put together, ergo, it seems to be at least a reasonable choice for somebody to bring to a game. Everything I'm casting in 1st edition has some kind of out, or some kind of, oh, I'm immune to that, sorry about it. And you guys know how I feel about immunities, nevertheless, maybe not every group feels that way. So it is a fair balance. In 2nd edition, giving something weakness 5 to a certain kind of damaging type has proven to be really good and really flavorful for monsters. Since this basically is a monster, sure, why not throw it on there? Especially because all of the ancestry feats we're taking are giving us, with the exception of Shillelagh, which is just basically bonk them on the head if they're aberrations or undead with a better quarterstaff, pretty good magic, especially on something like a Leprechaun champion or fighter. A Leprechaun champion with these things, a champion of like Callistria, say, yeah, that seems pretty good, is a powerful thing. But the GM can compensate by giving cold iron weapons to the things you're fighting, or some kind of Blanche or something out there. It's not going to harm the party, but it will harm the Leprechaun. It will force the Leprechaun's player to think critically about the things it's doing and the things it's casting. Worst case scenario, just tack another monster in. Monsters are much scarier in 2nd edition, so I think that checks out fine. In 1st edition, this is right up my alley for something like a rogue or a slayer or any of the sneaky Dexy types, because it has the other shoe that we've always wanted to drop when we're playing that character: illusion magic and invisibility at will. It's only as good as the fairy fire that hits you, but it does give an edge to, say, like the vanilla rogue or even the unchained rogue who doesn't have a caster behind them to cast these spells and doesn't want to shell out money for potions. Have I GM'd for anything like this or played anything like this? No, not particularly. But it does also bring a great segue into the first world. The only rule is there are no rules, and when that extends to the party, well, illusions are indeed powerful, I will say that. The limit is literally your imagination. In any case, that's all the time I have for today. What do you guys think? How would you build this in 2nd edition? What is the 1st edition Leprechaun missing? Or what would be flavorful to give the Leprechaun in 2nd edition as an ancestry or as a monster? Would you play this in 1st edition? Oh, also patronage is back up over 750. Actually, by the time this video comes out, we should be closing in, fingers crossed, on 4 figures on Patreon a month. Need to figure out what we're doing at 1,000. Of course, I will start rolling up things for 2nd edition from my 1st edition homebrew, but next week we're taking a 3.5 race and bringing it on up. Coming from the Fool's Gold campaign, it's the Foreclaimers. That's one I'm going to have to do a lot of research on. Yes, you will see it in 2nd edition. Here we go. Well, not right now. See you next week.